Hello again, and welcome to this week's Gospel Talk. This week we are shooting our video from the Chapel of Francis and Clare in Franciscan Villa, which is our skilled nursing center. Thank you once again for joining us. This week we're going to do things a little bit differently because on this Saturday or Sunday, depending on where you're worshiping, you're going to be hearing the Passion. And that is a very, very long reading. But it's a very important one because it takes us from the time of Jesus' triumphal entrance into Jerusalem, which he does on a donkey, and is greatly praised with people waving palm branches upon his entrance. And you may wonder why a king would enter into a city on a donkey as opposed to a wonderful white charger or a strong war horse. Well, Jesus did that on purpose because he was showing that his kingship would be different. It would be filled with humility and love and approachability by people of all status, places in the world, not only the wealthy, not only the strong, but the poor and the marginalized, which are the people that he came to be with. Remember, Jesus himself said, "I came not to heal the healthy, but to heal the sick." And that had much greater of a meaning to it. In fact, it meant that he came to be here for and heal the people that needed him most, not the wealthy, not the people that were healthy, but the people that were marginalized and people that no one else wanted to minister to. They shouted Hosanna or Hosanna, depending on how you pronounce it. They shouted this because they wanted him to heal them. They wanted him to save them. And he very much would end up doing that as he died upon the cross for them. Now, it's important to recognize that these people were the same people that were waving palm branches and welcoming him into the city. They were the same people that would call for his crucifixion less than a week later. Now, Jesus could have at any time during this Holy Week called upon his power, his divine power, to completely negate his need for physical pain, his need for having to be on his cross. But he would choose suffering and death because it was the will of the Father. You will hear in the coming week when Jesus is in Gethsemane, he asked the Father if it's at all possible that this cup could pass from him. Please let it be so. But he also says, "It is your will, not my will, that be done, Father." And he goes through with the crucifixion and the pain that comes along with that. Jesus did this because his death served a greater purpose. The Father allowed it because the death of his Son served a much greater purpose than had he passed it away. He proves that not even the greatest of evils can overcome the power and the wisdom and the love of God. And that lasts not only from back then, but to this day as well. Let's remember that true salvation comes from Jesus and what he did, his sacrifice on the cross, not just from quick solutions to the problems that we pray to God for every day. Our everyday challenges are our own little crosses, and sometimes when we don't get answers right away, we become discouraged, or even worse, we're tempted to embrace despair in our lives. Instead of becoming discouraged or feeling despair, let us reflect on our lives and think about what Jesus did for us by embracing that cross. Let us remember that he suffered for us to eliminate death as an option. Let us carry our own crosses as he did. If you think about it, much, much smaller than the cross he carried. And let us remember that this suffering that he took upon him was to give us the greatest good he has ever known. And that by believing in him, we will be with him for an eternity where there will be no pain, no sadness, no discouragement, no despair, but only selfless love, together with him and all those we've loved forevermore. Have a blessed Holy Week. Thank you for joining in. And have a wonderful weekend of love. God bless you all.